Hi, Marilyn.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you.
Good. Well, it's always a good day when I can talk about Sesame Street. That's for
Yay!
sure.
I know.
I got to tell you, I absolutely love this documentary, and it just took me back down memory lane because look, I was 6 years old when Sesame Street came out, and I was an avid fan. And then, of course, I raised my children on it. So, for you, I'm wondering, what was your first exposure to Sesame Street? When did it get on your radar?
It got on my radar when I was about, I would say similarly, 7 or 8 years old, kind of thing. And, you know, even then, I understood that this was something different, something, eh, you know, I don't know if this should be on or off the record, but I have older siblings who actually used to smoke pot watching Sesame Street because it was this quirky, trippy little thing,
Yeah.
People of all ages recognized that this was something new and something fresh.
Yes, groundbreaking. And as we discover, a lot of people might be shocked to realize or to find out that it almost didn't even happen. That is amazing to me. Like this concept that was brought, and then they were like, what? Like, how will this ever fly?
It was, I think all the stars aligned, first of all, you had the civil rights movement. The whole country, our whole society was in an uproar.
Yeah.
Then you had a government that was actually willing to give millions of dollars to an educational experiment for kids that would never happen today.
Yeah.
And you had this little, confluence of these geniuses who wanted to make a difference and were allowed to.
Yeah. Yeah.
um they were just throwing stuff against the wall to see if it would stick. And for the first few years, all of the scripts, it was really interesting to see this early scripts from the first few seasons, they all say first experimental season of Sesame Street, second experimental season.
Wow.
They themselves knew they were making it up as they went along almost.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's so brilliant. And for you as a filmmaker and to have this treasure trove of footage, like, from literally the stuff that we see in this documentary from day one, they started shooting everything. What was that like for you to be able to have to go through that? And how do you even, not make a 40-part series? There had to have been so much stuff.
First decision was to limit the story. Sesame Street has been around for 52 years now.
Yeah.
So we limited it just to the first 2 decades, which
Right.
is still massive. Um, the luckiest thing that happened was that the discovery that a crew member of Sesame Street had started a documentary back in 1981
Mm.
and shot like 15 hours of beautiful 16 millimeter footage. And this is where you see in our movie Jim Henson and Frank Oz
Yeah.
working it out with the puppets, people fooling around. Luckily, since the guy behind the camera was also a crew member, everyone felt very comfortable in front of him. And so we were so lucky to
Yeah.
get all these hours of beautiful footage that no one has seen before. I mean, that was an amazing gift
I
to us.
agree. Yeah, I mean, oh God, watching Jim Henson in that mode, and then
Mm.
even just seeing some of the bloopers, the outtakes, like who doesn't want to see the Muppets being silly and dirty and all that? You know what I mean? Like, I mean that is gold, really.
For me, I know that a lot of people know Sesame Street well. I know that a lot of people think they know everything there is to know about Sesame Street. So the purpose for me of this film was to sort of throw the curtain back and get inside places that maybe you didn't know about.
Yeah.
How it felt, not only how it was made, but how it felt to make it and how it felt to be on the inside of that. And all these little nuggets, like the fact that it was banned in the South and that, um, you know, maybe John Stone is someone people don't know. And he was
Yes,
instrumental. Whenever I've talked about this documentary, people automatically assume, oh yeah, Jim Henson created Sesame Street, because this is the known quantity. Everyone knows Jim Henson and the Muppets.
of course.
Yeah, John hired Jim. John had this idea about putting it on a Harlem street, using that as his model. So I really wanted to, it was important to me to really highlight him
Yeah.
and to tell these little stories, these little nuggets that would just make it kind of a delicious experience.
Absolutely. Now, look, even from day one, one of the best things about Sesame Street is that it's always been, it embraced diversity, like no question about it. However, it was astounding for me to find out when you got that interview with Matthew Robinson. First of all, he, played the first Gordon. I did not know that he was Holly's dad until I watched your documentary. No idea. So I love the fact that the two of them were there together in this interview. But my heart went out to him because, boy, did he ever try hard, and he's the Gordon that I remember as a kid, obviously. What was it like, to sit down with him and get his stories, and was it difficult, or was he happy to be able to talk about this stuff?
Well, you're talking about Matt Robinson, the first Gordon, Holly's father. Yeah.
Yeah,
He became one of my favorite characters, actually. I did not know much about him, but
yeah,
it was so fantastic to know that he was already a television personality. He was involved in the Black Power movement big time.
yeah.
He was sort of a revolutionary. I heard a story that he was working at a TV station in Philadelphia the day that Martin Luther King was killed. He was an engineer or something in this TV station. And his wife called him and said, please come home, I'm scared.
Wow.
And as he was leaving the TV studio, they pulled him back in and said, throw a jacket on. We need you to go on the air and calm down the Black people of Philadelphia.
Wow.
And that was his first moment in front of a camera. And I think this is one of the things that really ignited his activism.
Yeah.
And all of the people of Sesame Street are sort of like that. They all come from an activist background.
Right.
And I love that because it just gives such a different dimension to it all.
Yeah. What ended up being the biggest challenge putting this together? Aside from going through the footage, and there had to have been other things, I think.
Well, many of the people that are our main characters are dead.
Yeah.
So Jim Henson, Matt Robinson, um, Carol Spinney, luckily was
Yeah.
alive.
Yes, you
I
got
think
him.
the
Yeah.
interview I did with him was one of his last that he did. But a lot of the main characters were gone. So it was piecing their story as richly as possible from their relatives' point of view, from other people who remembered them, from little pieces of archive that we were able to piece together. I really wanted to bring them to life because they were so important to this whole process.
Yeah.
So that
Oh,
was quite a challenge.
absolutely, absolutely. And it was just fun for me to go back and watch some of the clips. Like, it's astounded me how I remembered every lyric to every song. Like Roosevelt Franklin, I completely forgot about Roosevelt until I saw that, and I was like, oh yeah, right, for sure, I remember that. And then the guy walking down with the pies and falling and stuff, and it just all comes back. Why do you think that these are images that we just live, even if somebody watches Sesame Street once or 3 million times, these are things that stick in our minds. And the guy who wrote all the music, like
Oh, Joe Raposo, he's a feature documentary in his
yes,
own right.
I can imagine.
I think when you're a kid and you're 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years old, your
Yeah.
mind is like a blank canvas and you are a sponge. They say that's the optimum age to learn a second language. Your
Yes.
mind is so open, so receptive. And then you have a little mind like that and you introduce the Muppets and Susan and Gordon and Big Bird. And
Super, like, oh my goodness, yeah.
I mean, it becomes part of your family. It becomes this thing that is, I don't know, it
Yeah.
just stays in your heart.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was a little worried making this film because I felt like this film is never going to satisfy everyone because everyone has their own piece of Sesame Street that they love. And why wasn't there enough of Grover? Or why didn't you show this or that? Um, because it's a challenge to make a movie about something that people already know, people already love, and to meet everyone's expectation is a little daunting. But it's the movie's been getting a lot of love. I'm very grateful for that.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I've been telling everybody about it. All my friends, of course,
Right.
they all want to see it because we all grew up with it. So it's, yeah, kudos to you. It's really wonderful. And before we go, I have to ask you because of course your documentary Mad Hot Ballroom was such a huge success. It was so fantastic. Another great doc that you gave us. But I've heard rumblings that this might be turned into a Broadway show. Is this true?
Mad Hot Ballroom is in pre-production to go on Broadway. I'm
Wow.
so excited. Of course, this pandemic got
Yeah.
in the way of that.
Yes.
But it's an A-list Broadway crew behind it, and I'm very excited. That would be fantastic.
Oh, I'm a big Broadway geek, so
The New
I
York
can't
story,
wait to be able to go back to New York and they open Broadway again, and I just can't wait.
I know.
Oh,
But both these films are New York stories, and I love telling a New York story.
yeah.
So I'm very, very happy and very excited.
Yeah. I know that next week, I think one of the big networks is running a 50th anniversary special of Sesame Street. Were you involved in any of that, or do you know about that? Or yeah,
I have heard of that. I actually sometimes direct for Sesame Street, and that was a separate thing completely from this film.
yeah,
I'm not so involved in the day-to-day of what they do. It was important for the filmmakers of this documentary to keep a little bit of separation,
yeah, I get it. Yeah,
for obvious reasons.
yeah.
We but they're happy with it, and
Oh, it's fantastic. Yeah,
everyone's happy. I think
yeah.
I'm so excited to finally show this to the world.
Yeah, it's going to do great at Hot Docs, and when it comes out, I honestly, anybody who doesn't like this has no heart. So that's all I have to say. It is really wonderful, and it's been such a pleasure to be able to talk to you today, Marilyn. What a
Likewise.
thrill, and best of luck with everything. And hopefully, we can get you back, to Toronto at some point when the borders open.
Oh, I'm so disappointed not to be going to Canada, but
Yeah.
I mean, a lot will happen in the year ahead, I think. And
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much today for your time, and best of luck with this. It's just so fantastic. I loved it so much.
oh, thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Have a great day.
You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.